share of attention. So the Democratic Minority Whip, Steny Floor, was on the floor today for that sit-in, and he joins me now for a TV-in of sorts. Congressman Hoyer, good to see you, sir.
Good to be with you.
So let's start with where negotiations stand between you and Kevin McCarthy on getting a vote on one or all of those Senate bills, or the bills that you would like to get a vote on the gun issue.
Well, the Majority Leader and I had an opportunity to talk earlier today, and the Majority Leader asked me what would it take for us to stop the demonstration on the floor, which is essentially what Chris Murphy did on the Senate floor. They call it a filibuster there. We have a sit-in here, essentially, or a teach-in or a speak-in. The fact of the matter is, what I told him was what we've been saying on the floor. The two bills that we are asking to be brought to the floor for a vote by the members who represent all of America are supported by 85 to 90% of Americans. One is, if you on the no-fly list, you should also be on the no-gun list. No fly, no buy. In addition to that, the overwhelming majority of Americans of all political stripes support enhanced background checks so that we know who is buying weapons that can be so dangerous to so many people so quickly. So I told the Majority Leader if those bills were brought to the floor and we had an opportunity to vote on them, that this would stop. Our effort is to have democracy work. When Speaker Ryan became the Speaker, he talked about bottom up. This is, frankly, bottom up. And secondly, he talked about an open, transparent House that would confront the issues head on, no matter how difficult they are. If he believed then he has an opportunity to show that by bringing these bills to the floor.
And what did Kevin McCarthy say? No? Or is he saying, I'm going to take it back to leadership and we'll think about it? Where do we stand?
It was not a conversation that ended with a yes or no. It was, okay, I understand what you're saying, and the conversation essentially ended at that point in time. So
you're a rules guy.
I didn't get an answer.
You're a rules guy. You're a rules guy. You respect the history of the House. Are you uncomfortable with violating the rules of the floor right now? I've just wondered. It wouldn't surprise me if you were conflicted by this.
Well, first of all, let me say, as you point out, immediately upon bringing the House into session, the majority, which it could do, recessed the House. So the House is not in session. What you're talking about, the rules related to the floor and picture taking. You pointed out that John Lewis is leading this effort. Frankly, John Lewis broke some rules. He broke some bad rules. Now, I won't say that's a bad rule, but it is a rule that, in effect, prevents what is going on now from being seen by the American public, knowing what their representatives are doing, knowing what they think is important, giving voice to their concerns about the gun violence in their country. So that while technically there's a rule, I absolutely support that rule when the House is in session, but the House is not in session, and so as you point out, maybe it's a technical violation, but what it is an opportunity to show the people what is happening in the House of Representatives and calling attention to the fact that notwithstanding the overwhelming support by the American public of these two bills, the no-fly, no-buy rule and the enhanced oversight of who's buying a gun, the House is not acting in a democratic fashion.
Let me ask you this. Are you comforted may not be the right word, but are you optimistic that you actually might get some of your demands met here because the Speaker hasn't shut off the lights, for instance, and I know Democrats had done that in the past when the roles were reversed in here, and he hasn't ordered the Sergeant at Arms to essentially clear the floor? Does that tell you he's at least tacitly letting, hey, you know what, let this protest play out and let's have a political conversation after the fact? Does that give you any optimism that he might negotiate with you?
It does give me some optimism. It certainly, let me say in terms of the alternative of clearing the floor, it would be a great irony for John Lewis, who is sitting quietly on the floor of the House of Representatives seeking justice, as he did walking across the Edmund Pettus Bridge or riding on a bus or sitting at a lunch counter, certainly I don't think Paul Ryan wants to eject him from the House of Representatives to which he's been elected, and on an issue that he feels so passionately is about the rights of the citizens to be safe. So that I don't perceive that as going to happen. I certainly hope it does not happen.
Right.
And I think what is being said on the floor of the House of Representatives, what almost every Democrat is saying is the American people want to vote, Mr. Speaker. We can't guarantee that we win that vote, but the American people in the people's house, in the democratic center of our country, deserve a vote.
Why do you think Republicans don't want this vote? Because it does feel like this is an issue that both parties believe plays for them. I mean, I don't believe to be that cynical about it, but I think many of the Democrats believe the increased regulation on guns is popular and is good for Democrats, and I think Republicans believe standing up for gun owners is good politics for them, which to me should be the recipe of getting a vote.
It should be, you would think, but my own view is the Republicans know the same thing we do. 80 to 90% of Americans support these two bills. And this is about, by the way, people. You know, they say people kill people, guns don't. This is about people. Yeah. Whether or not those persons are eligible to have a dangerous instrument which can be of significant danger to the American people and their right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Frankly, I think the Republicans are concerned that they know 80 to 90% of the people support those two bills, and if they bring them to the floor, a lot of their members are going to vote against them, and the American people will not be happy. I think that's the problem.
All right. All right. Congressman Steny Hoyer, House Democratic Whip, thanks for the update. We'll be checking in.